Welcome to the Sourcing Hero podcast, produced by UNA, a group purchasing organization that empowers sourcing heroes, and Art of Procurement, the world's largest procurement podcast network. I'm your host, Kelly Barner. The goal of the Sourcing Hero podcast is to capture the epic stories of people who are rising up and beating the odds to create exceptional value within procurement, directly from those heroes themselves. Today, my guest here on the Sourcing Hero podcast is José Alfredo Rodríguez. José Alfredo is the Regional Supply Chain Director at World Vision International, a top 4 global organization managing $4 billion and up in annual spend and focusing on health insurance and large-scale health humanitarian aid. So, José Alfredo, thank you so much for being with me today.
No, thank you very much, Kelly, for having me.
Absolutely. Now, in my intro, I shared just a little bit about your current role, the organization that you work for. But before we dig into our topic, I'd love to give people an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. What else do you like to share with people about your focus and past experience?
Well, first, I'm based in Costa Rica, and I have the opportunity to serve to this most beautiful cause, which is World Vision. And what I like to do is this sourcing strategy and supply chain topics. Usually with my family, spends, this beautiful Costa Rica going around. And yeah, this is what I like to do.
Now, I know in the past you were in the corporate world and now, of course, you're working not for profit. What was the biggest thing that surprised you about that transition?
Wow. Good question. I would say that at the beginning, how we manage the money, and usually in the nonprofits, comparing to the corporate world, money is something that is controlled, but here in World Vision also is controlled and needs to be spent very fast. Mm-hmm. And why we need to spend very fast? The execution is very important because we save lives. And this is the most beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure a lot of procurement professionals are listening and thinking, wow, we've never had it as part of our responsibility to help spend money fast. So that's a completely different way to sort of look at and think about success. How does being in this not-for-profit situation where you are responding to something very quickly and timely change the way that procurement teams operate?
Wow, good question. The key for us is anticipation. What we try to do is, in order to respond very fast, is to have good relationship with the suppliers, good relationship with the communities, and of course, a good planning. Currently, we are working very hard internally because we wanted to have a brand promise. And the brand promise is related that we wanted to be the first one we wanted to be the first one in the places that nobody goes. So, and we wanted to impact in less of 18 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is something that we want. We only can do it with creating capacity in our suppliers, our internal teams, our communities. So it's something that we work because at the end, we wanted to save lives, and timing is the most pressure variable.
Yeah. Now, if I can ask before we go more into sort of the sourcing and community support or supplier piece, what type of crises is your organization responding to? Just so that people are picturing this as we go through the conversation.
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, well, World Vision is very focused on humanitarian crisis. Okay. I will say it will depend because World Vision is in more than 100 countries, But here in Latin America, we are in 14. So we are in 14 countries, and it will depend of the latitude of these countries. So for the south, Chile, sometimes is related to wildfires, you know, Chile, Brazil, the Amazonian wildfires. Of course, in the north, we can have floods. And unfortunately, the earthquakes is the other which affect all the 14 countries. So earthquakes is the other. And of course, we do something related to humanitarian health, especially in Haiti, in terms of BHA, malaria, and others particularly disease that we have challenged here in the region.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, as I think back about what you were sharing about the importance of responding quickly, as a procurement professional, I'm thinking, okay, you have to respond quickly and you want to partner with the community. So it would make sense to work with suppliers and providers in each area where there's been an issue. Given the types of crises you just talked about, the suppliers in that area might actually be affected by the flood, the earthquake, the wildfire. How do you balance needing to bring in somebody who has the capabilities and the local understanding with understanding to the extent to which that community and the suppliers in it have been disrupted to the point where they can't even participate in the recovery?
Well, first, we do a lot of anticipation, Kelly. This is something very, very important to us. So planning is key. Okay, planning is key, and what we try to do is to understand how much budget we have, because at the end, the budget for us is very important, and measure, and then we analyze how we can measure the impact in terms of people. Okay, so we define it like the basic kits, you know, it will say hygiene kits, emergency kits, food kits. So we start to standardize this. You know, a kit can be something that, you know, a shelter, I don't know, different items that we use as a basic needs for the people. And then basis on our historical and basis our budget, we try to optimize. When we have the unit cost, we multiply for how many people we can impact. Okay. And additionally, we go to the suppliers and create tenders. Okay. We are very, very focused on creating transparent tenders and created a competitive, and especially in the local communities and the others outside. So what we do is simulating or creating a quantity, dates, everything, and we create long-term agreement with them. Okay, and we sign because at the end in emergency you don't know where it's going to happen, or you don't know many things. But what we know is going to happen. And what we wanted to make sure is we have the supplies. Okay, so we get an agreement because for World Vision, we implemented the no warehouse. Or we have a limited warehouse. I want to say no warehouse at all, but warehouse we try to support with the suppliers, the warehouse, in order to reduce costs. Okay?
Yeah.
Because optimization for money is, yeah, I know we need to spend fast, but we need to be stewardship of the steward of the money. So we create all of this, and I think this is why we try to do, or we try to have this promise, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I know you and your team are first and foremost in the humanitarian response business, but it must be a really interesting data and analytical challenge. You know, you talk about We know what's going to happen at some point. We don't know exactly when. We don't know exactly where. We're trying to be good stewards of the money. We're trying to be light with inventory and partner with suppliers.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the data analysis that you're going through, figuring out, how much of what will we need depending on the crisis, and then figuring out who you can partner with to make that all come together very quickly.
Wow. We are, it's true, Kelly. I will say that we are very data informed, okay? We have a lot of data. We use Coupa as a sourcing to pay system. So we have a good historical in terms of data. And it's important to us at the end, data, to take a very good decision in order to be stewardship again and impact all the people. Because if we have one kid less, this means one life that can be compromised. So we are very deep in numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure that you are. And I'm sure that you're regularly investing in all of that so that you continue to make better and better decisions.
Yeah, currently we are working with AI. AI for us is our daily bread, I will say. And we work in order to be fast, fast in terms of decision, fast to do the tenders, fast to do the RFPs, the RFX, all the process, the market assessment too, because sometimes it's challenging to find suppliers in the community. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we use AI for everything, I would say.
Yeah. It would be interesting to hear as well. I'm sure, there's strategic supplier relationships, there's tactical supplier relationships. I'm sure that's same, for you in the humanitarian business as it is for corporate procurement. But given the criticality of your work, and as you've said, the fact that lives are on the line, can you speak a little bit about what some of your most important supplier relationships are like and how they enable World Vision to achieve what you do for these communities?
Wow, good question, Kelly. First, we like to do business with people who understand our mission, okay, and share our core values. For us, be transparent, be compliant with all these policies that we have. So this is something important for us. Secondly, the suppliers needs to be understanding how we operate. As an international NGO with 100 countries, global systems, because maybe the audience don't know, but we are 100% digital. Everything is in the system. We are not using paper. I wouldn't say anymore, but in most of the case we don't use paper. Everything is digital. Most of the transactions are seen or recorded in the system. So for some suppliers, this is really challenging, especially.
Yes, that's true.
Imagine a supplier in Colombia in the rivers we use, or in the Amazonian, who has challenge in terms of connectivity, has challenge in terms of writing. And so we try to make simple and we provide support to them because at the end we need them. For example, I can say we are going to the most far away communities. So in some places in Colombia or in Brazil or in Peru, the only way to access these communities is by river. So we use boats, but small boats, and to transport all the items, the food items, the hygiene kits. So this type of person needs to register in the system, make all this comparison, give us a quote, and everything. So we provide a lot of support to the suppliers.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's an area where most corporations could actually learn a lot from the work that you're doing. Because I think a lot of businesses have the same kind of idea. Oh, we want to partner with people in communities, and they genuinely want to do that from a value and sort of outreach kind of way. But understanding how you need to make it work for these small, localized, less digital, to your point, organizations to be part of the system, that almost has to be a key philosophy behind your procurement, that you have to find a way to enable these smaller localized suppliers to support your larger mission.
Yeah. It is for us. It's challenging. I will say it's challenging for our team. Our team is a team that go outside, visit the supplier. We do fairs in the local communities. In order, we create, these fairs, and they go with the laptops, and we try. Of course, they have minimum documents that for legally, okay. So we try to negotiate with them what are the beneficials, because sometimes again it's challenging. So we have many options in order to register and make it easier. Fairs, visits, we do many things in order to have suppliers registered in the system.
Yeah. Now, when we come back to thinking about maybe how you look at or track success, you talked about the mission being to be on the ground first where the conditions are worse. And you've got this very narrow time frame that you're working with. So maybe the first outreach is you get those kits there, as you've talked about, for whatever the crisis happens to be. Do you consider the job done as the kits get there, or is there a bigger picture, sort of longer term involvement that you're also having as well?
Wow, this is a magnificent question. Well, there is multiple types of humanitarian aid, and can be of the level of maturity of this community, okay? For example, emergencies is the only thing is go quickly and try to respond quicker, okay? The second is some, for example, in other communities, for example, maybe in Venezuela or in Central America, in Guatemala, Honduras, even Mexico. And sometimes what we try is to provide something, or because the local companies or the local companies, to create an alliance with them and try to teach them how can progress in order to have better skills. We have programs with young people, which is just ready. So we try to them to provide all the skills, all the knowledge in order to get the first job, or start doing the small business for their own. And so it will depend of the community. Sometimes other communities, they only want water. Water is clean water. And so we do many things, and will depend of the level of maturity or necessity of the country or the local community.
Yeah. Now, we talked a little bit at the beginning of this conversation about the fact that you've worked private sector, and of course now you're in the humanitarian business. If you had to share a piece of advice based on your experience that was going to go back specifically to corporate CPOs, what would you like to encourage them to do or try or understand? What would be your advice back to sort of the private sector business side of the equation?
Yeah, I would say be always focused in how to optimize the spend. And for us, this is key. And I would say that in every situation, in every company, how to manage the spend is very important. We need to optimize and do or create a more impact. So this is, I would say, that my comment.
Yeah. And you're such an effective advocate, not just for World Vision as an organization, right? But also for what procurement can help an organization like that accomplish, right? You made the point that, well, if we have one more kid, maybe that ends up being one more life. I mean, it's the number one. Procurement and businesses deal in very large numbers, but it really ultimately comes down maybe to that one. I'm going to be very interested, Jose Alfredo, to hear your answer to this next question, because this is a big tradition here at the Sourcing Hero.
Yeah.
And given where you focus and how you go about your work, I'm interested to hear what you're going to say. So I'm going to give you two questions. You can pick either one, and there are no wrong answers.
Yeah.
So your choices are, what does the idea of a sourcing hero mean to you?
Yeah.
Or if you want to go a little bit broader, what do you think heroism looks like in a business context?
Oof. Yeah, I like both. I would say that I go to the first one. I think these channels of communication and sourcing hero for us, special for World Vision, is a channel that we can amplify the voice of the most vulnerable children. So thank you, Kelly, for having me and being the way that you can amplify this voice of the most vulnerable children around the world. So thank you.
No, absolutely. And thank you for being here and sharing the stories and sharing the outlook. It's such an interesting balance between, you talk about being a good steward of resources and optimizing, but never losing sight of the fact that it's lives and communities on the other end of your work. Now, we always wrap these conversations, and I would definitely advocate that people reach out and connect with you on LinkedIn. They can get in touch. But we're also going to provide a link, correct? So that if people want to support the work that World Vision is doing, if you are listening to us on a podcast player, scroll down in those show notes. If you have found us on the UNA website, scroll down and look at the show notes. If you found us on social media, go back to the post and look at the comments. Because, Jose, we're going to have a link there for people that want to get involved and help support. It could be that one more kit, in fact, that people's donations enable.
Yeah, for less of $300 per year, we can transform the people. And I can bring, this is true, we transform lives, and I can see you across the Latin American. So yeah, all the donations, you will see how we are stewards of them and how they're going to impact the communities.
Well, Jose Alfredo, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you and your team do. Thank you for telling the story, teaching us lessons in the corporate world that I think it's important for us to remember. I genuinely enjoyed having you on the show to tell the story, and I look forward to sharing this with the listening audience.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sourcing Hero podcast. Join us again next time for more true stories of sourcing and business heroism performed by your colleagues and peers. Look for the Sourcing Hero wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe. Finally, don't forget, sourcing heroism is taking place all around us every day. Keep your eyes open and you're bound to see it. Until next time, I'm your host, Kelly Barner. Stay well, and always remember that you can be a hero too.